Oh, now I've got, can you hear that feedback?
Yeah, I do hear that.
May not be live on YouTube anymore. Okay, here we go, folks. Good afternoon and welcome to our first attempt at doing a webinar over Zoom. We're excited about making this change because it makes it available to you in a lot of different methods. You can go on live, watch us live on YouTube. Hopefully, maybe I'll get Doug or Brent to check that out. If you go onto our YouTube channel and see if we're broadcasting live there. And anyway, but we are very excited that you've taken some time to log in today, and it looks like we've got a group of people here. I sent this out to just some of our most faithful video or webinar viewers, and to help us test out this technology and make sure that we don't fall flat on our face when we go with a big group coming up here in just over a week when we do our regular monthly webinars. We're going to be doing a lot more of this as we figure out the technology and we can do this live. So we really appreciate you helping us out today. I'm going to do a poll really quickly just to check one thing out. Looks like I've got to go out of this first. Here's the poll. I'm going to launch the poll. And the question is, did you receive a calendar invitation for this webinar? So I got an email from at least one person that said they did not, they got the email, but they did not receive a calendar invitation. It looks like it's going to be about 100%. So maybe those are the people that, that's why you're here, is you got the calendar invitation. Okay, I'm going to end that poll right there. Thank you. 100% that way. Perfect. Well, let's just we'll move along. I know you've got lots of things. Did Tim get his audio to work? Doug, did you? We didn't hear. Doug's walking out of the forest. I'm hoping that everybody got their audio functioning okay. If somebody wants to put a comment in chat and let us know if you can hear that all right.
I was able to click on an option for Tim to merge his audio.
Okay.
And then it showed him as muted. So I'm hoping he's hearing us now.
Perfect. Okay, just a reminder, everybody's muted in here. This is Zoom, and so we can interact back and forth. We encourage everybody to keep your microphone muted as we go through the presentation. But if you want to say something, you can do that. And if you've got a question, type it into the chat box, and we'll definitely answer that as we go along. Just a couple of things that we've got going in addition to this webinar. We've got those first of the month webinars on May 4th. We're going to be, we sent those out yesterday. You should have got an email from Doug on that. We'll be talking about working safely with trailers for our safety moment webinars. And I'll be presenting on bleachers and grandstand safety and risk management. I'll be doing that at 10 o'clock on May the 4th. Just a reminder that we do have a legislative update, a land use legislative update coming up. But we have postponed that. The Property Rights Ombudsman's Office wanted just a little more time to put that together, and so we will announce that date as soon as we get word from the Ombudsman's Office that they're ready to go on that. We record all of these sessions. And you can go to our website, but it's going to take you straight to our YouTube site if you go to there. We have just recently migrated all of our webinar recordings over to our YouTube channel. So we highly encourage you to go on to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Utah Local Governments Trust and subscribe there. And then when we go live, you can watch that. But there are over a couple hundred different webinar recordings there. And all of our future recordings will be uploaded to that site as well. Okay. And just as you've seen, we're switching to Zoom, and this will give us a lot better opportunities to get the right information out to you. All right, we'll keep going along here.
Jason,
yes.
Your screen is zoomed out or zoomed in too far. I don't know if I'm the only one seeing it that way. Your keynote.
Look all right to you, Doug?
Looks good to me.
Okay, it must just be on my end.
Okay. All right. And if you're having any issues, please type this message in there and let us know. Today we want to talk about supervising safety. Oh, I was going to check just one quick thing. Are you showing me recording? I can't see that. Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. Today's presentation, the intention of this is to have a webinar to test, but it's an important subject, supervising safety. Supervisors are an essential part of our safety program, and they are that central cog, that central gear in the machine that makes all of this work. That frontline supervisor is, sorry to say it, if you're a manager, they're probably more important than you are in the whole thing, because they are the front line to making safety work. They're the reason why our system really works or doesn't. Because they're the ones with the boots on the ground, and they make things happen that way. So in a lot of our videos or a lot of our webinars, we've talked about that in various trainings. We said, who's responsible for your safety? And of course, the answer to that is you are. You're the only one that is, at the end of the day, wholly responsible for your own safety. But we can ask the same question: is who is responsible for your employee's safety? And when we do that, when we ask that question, guess what the answer is? It's the same answer. You are. As a supervisor, we have a lot of responsibilities, and that puts us at potential risk out there for having our employees get hurt, and we're on the line there. Okay. All right. We are really in this together. We succeed or fail together. It's our choice to make, but it really comes down to the supervisor helping all the people that report to him or her doing the important thing, or doing the right thing. All right. So, question for you: what does safety have to do with being a supervisor? You know, a lot of people become supervisors just because they're pretty good at doing the job. They came in, they may not have been hired as a supervisor. They just showed up, did the job really well, and after a while we said, hey, they're pretty good at doing the job. Let's make them the supervisor. And they may lack some of the skills necessary, or maybe not realize what some of their responsibilities are. And so that's a responsibility of managers, is letting those supervisors know safety is one of your highest responsibilities. Yeah, you've got to get the job done. You've got to make the water run. You've got to ensure that the sewer doesn't back up. You've got to make sure that things happen, the right things happen from a public safety standpoint. So the bad guys go to jail, and the people that are injured get the care that they need. Yeah, that's all absolutely important, but safety is one of their number one responsibilities. So let's look at this. Here's some topics that we'll hit here today in this webinar. We're going to talk about the safety supervisor's duties, or every supervisor's duties as it pertains to safety. And one of these things is training, mentoring, being there for that new employee, or being there for that older employee or long-term employee that's been there a long time that isn't doing things right, or needs some help learning what is the correct way to do that. Enforcing safe work practices. What an essential part of being a supervisor. And yet sometimes we see supervisors shirking that responsibility, kind of pushing that off to, I'll talk to them about that when we do our annual review. Instant response, work comp, and getting people back to work, instant investigation, and overall setting an example for safety. These are all supervisor responsibilities. So let's dive into a couple of these things. Safety is not always common sense. Some safety things need to be specifically trained. Some people weren't raised in an environment that valued safety, that made it something that was important in the family or in the other jobs that they've had. So sometimes we need to train on the very, very basic parts of safety. Sometimes we need to train on the exceptions. This is really dangerous work that we're doing. And so we have standard operating procedures that govern how we do that. And you have to follow these exact procedures to do this task so you don't die. This is your opportunity as a supervisor, particularly on that first day on the job, to set the environment, to set the stage, and let that employee know what is expected of them. Let them know what the requirements are for PPE. Something as simple as wearing a seatbelt. Hey, here where we work, we wear our seatbelts. When you do this task, you need to wear your safety glasses, you need to wear your gloves, you need to, whatever it may be. These are the expectations. You can't do X without being trained on doing that first. And then also that early day, we want to outline our training plan. Here's what you need to do to be an effective employee here. You need to be trained on this, this, and this. And if you're in law enforcement, you need to make sure that your daily training bulletins are always completed. Everybody needs to have certain human resource related trainings, and then the other safety trainings. If you work for public works, you have to have trenching and shoring training and confined space training and lockout tagout, and just go down the list and say, here's what you have to complete from a training standpoint to ensure that you're being safe on the job. All right. Enforcing safe work practices is also a supervisor responsibility. Rules are made to keep you safe. They're not made to be broken. The reason why we have those rules is to keep people's fingers attached, is to keep people alive, and to help them go home safe at the end of the day. So rules are there for a purpose. So as a supervisor, you should be observing regularly what's going on in your work environment, both acts and conditions, safe and unsafe on both of those. Pay attention to those things and act now. When you see something that is wrong, take action. When you see somebody doing everything right, reinforce that positive behavior. Good job. Thank you for taking the time to put your PPE on. Thank you for following the procedure on this. I know it's a pain to have to do it this way, but it's the thing that's going to help us all be safe in the long run. And we need to help our workers, our employees, understand the purpose for these safety rules. These rules are here for your own safety. They are here to help keep you safe. It's not just to be a burden. It's not just because we have a list of those things. There's a reason why we do every one of these rules and have those as part of our process. Okay. Instant response. When somebody is injured, when there's an auto accident, a supervisor should respond to that. Why? For a number of reasons. We need to make sure that that employee gets the care that they need, the proper care. We need to be there to reassure them. It's a tough deal when you get in a car crash. It really takes you out of your element, and it's a scary thing. If somebody is injured, They can go into shock. There's all kinds of things that make it very difficult for somebody to do the task that they're supposed to in responding to the incident. So a supervisor should be there for that, for them. And they should also be there to gather information about the incident. The main responsibility for incident investigation falls to the supervisor. They gather information about the incident so we can look at it. Once things are, we're sitting down as a safety committee, we can take all the information that the supervisor provides and determine, what do we do to make sure this doesn't ever happen again? One of the other responsibilities that a supervisor has after an incident is to help control the scene. Make sure that people who shouldn't be there when something is dangerous or something bad has happened, keep those people back away from the area. The looky-loos, right? The people that are just spectators coming around. Help control that scene. And probably most important is to make that scene safe. If there's been an accident in one way or another, it may still be unsafe. And so the supervisor, they probably know that scene better than anybody else. Their job is to help control that scene and stop the piece of equipment that was running, whatever it may be. Stop the excavation if we've had a cave-in or something like that. Supervisors are essential to have their wits about them when an incident happens. They, as supervisor, are also responsible to make sure everybody's responsible to report all accidents, but sometimes it doesn't happen. And so in those cases, the supervisor is responsible to ensure that this incident is reported to the proper authorities, whether that's management, a workers' compensation coordinator, whatever your process says. Generally, it's going to be going to upper management. Hey, we had an incident on our job site. We've got somebody injured. They're going to the hospital. That injured employee reporting to the boss might be the furthest thing from their mind because they're bleeding. So supervisor takes that responsibility on. They need to make sure that they get proper care for the injury, get the first aid kit there. It might be making the 911 call if it's a serious injury. The supervisor, in situations where it's not a 911, where they're not taking an ambulance ride, supervisor should take the employee to the clinic and put in your clinic that you designate there and help them get the care that they need. Ensure that they get the proper paperwork when they leave the clinic or the emergency room, whatever that is, and help them. We don't want an injured employee driving themselves to a clinic when they're bleeding or when they've been injured in one way or another, because they might have shock. They might go into shock. They might get a little woozy at the sight of their own blood. And in some cases, they may not show up at the clinic at all because they're worried about one thing or another. They don't like doctors, they don't like needles, or maybe they don't want to have a drug screen. Those are important reasons why supervisors should accompany that injured employee to the clinic. When it's all said and done, when the care has been given, the supervisor needs to ensure that all the paperwork gets back to the workers' compensation coordinator. So that person has, and that's whoever you designate at your organization, so they have all the information that they need. That includes the first report of injury from the employee and the supervisor incident investigation form. Okay, so here are the three forms. We've sent these out to you multiple times in the past, but if you're interested in getting those, we can definitely send those out. The employee fills out the first report of injury. That's their own information and what happened to them. They write that down. The supervisor does the incident investigation. That's going to be a little bit broader. The supervisor is going to look at all of the factors that went into having this incident take place and document those things, get witnesses. If somebody was there, take a witness statement, maybe draw a diagram, show all of the things, document what PPE was worn, training for the individuals that were involved in the incident, all of that stuff. And those two forms are passed on to the safety committee, who fills out their own form, the incident review form. It's a process that works really well if we follow it. But you can see that the supervisor is that essential person in this entire process to ensure that we get the right information to the safety committee. I have been to multiple safety committees, and I'm sure Doug and Brent can say the same thing, where we've been reviewing an incident and we didn't have all the information that was needed to accurately review the incident, and really have a thorough review to determine what is it that we can do to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that's frustrating to the safety committee, and sometimes it makes it so we miss an opportunity to prevent another accident from happening. So supervisors are essential in gathering the right information. Okay, so here's just the example forms that we have. And like I said, you probably can't see those very well. And if you would like a copy, drop us a line and we can send that out. I guess we can actually just email that to everybody on here if I can figure out the list. Injury reporting, just one more time to highlight this, that all injuries, no matter how minor, needs to be reported to the supervisor. Whether that becomes a workers' compensation claim or not is just totally dependent on the details. There are minor incidents that happen. Hey, I got a paper cut. Report it to the supervisor, and hey, I cut myself on this cardboard box. Put a Band-Aid on it. Okay, we're good. We may make a note of that. It's probably not going to become a work comp claim or anything like that, but we want to have all of those reported. So then in a week, if I've got blood poisoning and because of this paper cut that I've got, well, I've made a report, and that preserves my ability to make a claim on that. All those things. I already talked about transportation, getting people there. After an incident, the supervisor's responsibility is to do everything that they can to safely get the person back to work. That should be one of our goals, is getting them back to work as soon as they safely and helpfully can. So they'll get the paperwork from the doctor, and that might have this person is taken off of work, or it may say, here's some restrictions that this person can do. One-handed work only, or may only lift 10 pounds, or you name it. There are a million different restrictions that we might have. The supervisor then has the responsibility to look at their job description, look at their daily job duties, and say, can this person do that job with the restrictions that have been provided by the doctor? If they can't, then then the responsibility falls on that supervisor to see, is there something else here in the work area that would fit those restrictions? If it won't, it's probably going to be a conversation with the workers' comp coordinator. Hey, can we temporarily transfer this employee to another department where they can meet their restrictions, working together as a group on that. Important part of this is supervisors need to make sure that employee have a discussion with the injured employee and say, you need to follow your restrictions. I don't care if it's just one time. The doctor said these are your restrictions, and you have to follow those. That's going to help you get better faster and help you not injure yourself. So follow those restrictions, make sure that the employee knows how important those are, and that they need to follow their restrictions, not only at work, but at home as well. Make sure they get to their doctor's appointments, talk to them about that. This is a supervisor's, one of those important things to mentor and help an employee along is when they're injured, we're going to help them get back to health. All right. Those who don't learn from their mistakes are bound to repeat them. We've all heard this a lot of times. And so just to reinforce this, the the supervisor's responsibility for incident investigation. We have to realize that accidents are caused. They're caused by unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. And that supervisor is the front line, is the person who determines, who helps identify those unsafe acts and unsafe conditions, and he really determines whether they're taken care of before somebody gets injured. So they should go into this realizing that all accidents are preventable, and that this investigation will help us to prevent that from happening again, so people aren't injured later on. Our goal should be identify some root cause there. Accident investigation will help us prevent these accidents. They will help us identify unsafe conditions, unsafe acts that are happening in our workplace, and they're going to help us make sure people go home safe. The very last benefit out of that is it's going to save us a lot of money on our premiums and medical costs and all of that in the long run. The most important thing is we want our people at work, we want them safe, and we want to have them productive. So as a supervisor, you should be looking for Band-Aids, look for duct tape, look for things where we're just, slapping a Band-Aid on to cover a problem that's there. Those are the things that may get us in the long run. So take your time in this workplace to look around and say, you know what? We're cutting a corner right here. We need to come up with a way to do this task, or we need to replace that old ratty tool that's been broken with something that is safer. All right. Just a reminder on this: ask why questions until you get to the root cause. I actually thought I took this slide out. It must not have disappeared. But ask the questions going through why did this happen? Why did this happen? Until you get to the root cause. I wanted to have this done in a half hour, so I'm gonna skip that example there at the end because you guys have been awesome to come in. I didn't want to take a lot of time out of your day, but I do believe in that supervisors are that key person in our overall safety organization. Every employee has responsibility for their own safety. They have the responsibility to do the right things and follow a process and wear their PPE and all of that. But that supervisor is the one that is watching how everything works and ensuring that everything is done right by those employees. That's a big load on a supervisor, and it's something that's the reason why they make the big bucks, right? Even though our supervisors may not be at the high end of the pay scale, there's a reason why they're a supervisor. They've taken some additional responsibility on, and they need to know what that is. So if you're a supervisor, think about that. Where do your responsibilities lie? What duty do you owe to the people who work for you? What duty do you owe to your employer? And take a look around and see where can you improve the safety performance, because you are a key cog in the machine that makes safety work. You set the stage, you set the expectations, you provide the tools, and you can save lives. And so take action when you see that. All right, that is the last of the presentation. I really appreciate everybody on here. Do we have any questions? I haven't been watching the chat.
No questions on here, Jason. Looks good.
All right. I would love to hear if you have any comments about the presentation, of course. Love to hear about that if you have questions, but also would like to hear about the delivery method using this Zoom meeting. Your thoughts on that, things that we could do to improve. Let me know. Doug and Brent, what you got?
I just been watching to see if everybody gets their audio up. When they log in, if we don't see that microphone on their next to their name, then they're not hearing us. I've been trying to send text messages to the folks that are didn't have the audio working. And I think maybe we struggled a little bit. I don't know if to see the text messages, but the couple that were on here, Cody here gives us a thumbs up now. He has it working now. So it's little, we run in the same thing with WebEx, you know, with
Yeah.
struggles with the microphone and the speakers and things. So that continues.
Folks, thank you. Thank you very much for attending today. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your day for this. We recorded the session. We'll put it up on our YouTube channel. I believe we're still, it says that we're broadcasting live to YouTube right now. So we'll check and make sure. It may already be there. Thank you so much. If you have comments or if there's a subject that you would like to see us present on, we're all ears for that. Okay. Anything else, guys? No, it looks like they muted, so we're done. Thanks, folks. Have a safe day. All right, a couple of comments. Wendy, thank you. Scott, thank you. And we're going to wrap up. See y'all later.